UCSI University, and he has been recognized as one of the world's 10 most productive and influential authors in mobile commerce and related fields from 2017 to 2023. He also has received numerous awards for his contribution to research, including Outstanding Reviewer and Top Cited Paper honors. He also has published over 100 papers in leading journals, with 62% of them ranked A. And his work has been cited over 15,000 times, and he currently holds an H index of 55. Additionally, Professor Gary also served as a brand ambassador for Emerald Publishing and is an associate editor for two academic journals. In 2024, he was named one of the world's top 2% scientists by Stanford University. We are truly honored to have him with us today. Without further ado, I would like to invite Professor Gary Tan Wei Han to deliver his talk.
Okay, thank you so much, Nurul. Thank you so much, Elwin, for the invitation. So I'm going to share my slide right now. So just give me a minute. Okay. Okay, are you able to see my slides?
Yep.
Okay. All right, great. Hi everyone. Welcome to today's sharing on tips
Hold on,
and
hold on, Prof. Gary. I think it went blank.
It's blank,
oh,
blank.
White blank now.
what blank?
Yep.
Uh, do you see anything?
Mm,
It's blank screen.
It's a blank screen. Okay, hold on. Let me stop and reshare again. Just give me a minute. Present now. Okay.
today a lot of technical issue.
Hmm. Normally it's very smooth.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you see my slides?
Not yet.
Uh,
Yep. Now, yes.
yes.
Just
Yes.
hold
Right.
on. It's coming
Okay.
up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
Okay, great. Hi everyone. Welcome to today's sharing on tips and guide for publishing in high impact journals. I'm Gary. Yeah, you can just address me as Gary. I'm from the UCSI Graduate Business School, UCSI University. Now, maybe just a very quick one about myself. I have been teaching, yeah, for more than about 15 years, yeah, almost close to 15 years. So I'm not new to this academic world. um, I always jokingly tell people that, if you search online, 15 years ago, I used to have a lot of hair. Okay, so over the years, lost a lot of hair. Yeah, because we spent a lot of time doing research, and the kind of time that we work is like there's no day and there's no night. Any time of the day we still work. So we lost a lot of hair because of that. So today, what I'm going to share is I'm going to talk about what are the important things in a research paper, and of course what are some of the tips, yeah, for each of those sections. So I'm going to start off by sharing with you on the kind of things that we look for in terms of title, abstract, keywords, introductions, literature review, methodology, discussion, implications, and henceforth. So what I do is that for every sections, I'll give you some tips. Okay, the tips is going to be something, I would not say it's unique, but I would say that it comes from really from 14 to 15 years of experience. It will come from a viewpoint, because I'm also a reviewer. I'll share with you what are the things that a reviewer look for. I also will share with you from a viewpoint as a writer. As you know, if you look at my profile, I write a lot as well. And even until today, I still write papers. And I also will share with you from a viewpoint as an editor. Yeah, because we are also guest editor of special issues. We are also associate editors of journals, and henceforth. So it's gonna come from three different perspectives: reviewer, author and also an editor. So that will give you a sort of like 360 viewpoint of what we actually want from a paper. Now, I'm going to start off by the most fundamental things, which is on title. All right. Now, research paper, right? Like it or not, title plays a very important role. Why so? Whenever I receive a paper as an let's say as a guest editor or special issue editor, we look at the title. If your title is so boring, I can tell you I have no motivation to even read your paper. Okay. Now you see, you have to understand that writing a title for a journal paper is not the same with writing a title for a thesis. Okay, a thesis has to be conservative. Like for example, an investigation, the relationship between A, B, C, D, E of manufacturing firms in Malaysia, and etc. So those are very typical traditional thesis title style of writing. But you can't do this for journal. Yeah, you need to be as creative as possible. The main idea is that the title has to be catchy. All right. So important things. Okay, important things that you must look at when you write a title. Okay, number one, the title has to reflect the paper. So if the paper, the title has words like credit card, so people would assume that your paper somehow is related to credit card. If you have the word mobile payment, then people would expect that your paper is somehow related to mobile payment. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, title, as I said, has to be catchy. Now, how do you create a catchy title? Um, I tell people that there are a few ways. Okay, now number one, you can get catchy title from a journal, something like practitioner journals like Harvard Business Review. If you actually read this Harvard Business Review, they always have very catchy titles. You know, you can take a look at those kind of examples. So that's number one. All right. Tips number two, to get a very catchy title, you can also look at the newspaper. Okay, if you do notice, newspaper always have very catchy titles. Sometimes, you know, when I see the title, I feel like I want to read. I want to click, you know, to read on it. So whether the title reflects the article is secondary, but the first thing is it attracts my attention. So looking at newspaper, the style of how they craft the title can be, you know, a good way of crafting your title as well. Number three, there is this thing called most read, okay, or most cited. Now, if you go to Emerald Journals, for example, there is one section called most read and most, I think most read or most downloaded and most cited. Now, take a look. Those most read or most downloaded basically means that that paper received a lot of downloads in the last 3 months. Yeah, or most cited, the paper received a lot of citations in the last 3 months. So take a look at how those titles are being crafted. Okay, because for a paper to be listed in the most cited or for a paper to be listed in the most downloaded list, it has to be something unique. So have a look, yeah, how these titles are being crafted. Now, if these three methods is very difficult, I give you the fourth method. Okay, now what is this fourth method? Now, the fourth method is ask ChatGPT. Okay? Hey, I'm not kidding. Now, believe me or not, if you ask ChatGPT, they will give you really, really good title. Okay, or any generative AI software. Yeah, you can just throw in a few titles. But the game is this: if you ask them to, you know, recommend a title, it's gonna be very difficult. So you have to be very specific. So, for example, if you already created a title like an investigation between A, B, C, and E, or the relationship between TQM, supply chain, and performance, if you already have the title, paste that title in your generative AI software, and you just click and you say maybe you put in this way: suggest me a few alternatives, creative titles, and they will come up with a lot of very creative titles. Trust me, it is really a good way, you know, to getting your titles. So I think four of these methods will definitely work very well. You see, when I tell people a catchy title, someone asks, how do you really define the word catchy? To me, it's very simple. The title is so interesting that it motivates me to actually read that article. That is what I define as catchy. Now, I give you a very good example of a catchy title. I remember many years back, I was running a workshop related to grant writing. Okay, how to write a grant paper, and there was a group that actually came up with a very catchy title that relates to tourism. So how does the title looks like? The title looks something like this: Ghosts for Sale? Question mark. The dark side of tourism. Yeah. So I was looking at the title. I was like, that is very interesting because in the first place, can you actually sell ghosts? So that is a very catchy title. Ghosts for Sale? Question mark. The dark side of tourism. That is again the kind of examples that I say catchy. People who are even not interested to read, they want to read because it sounds interesting. Okay, now please, by all means, you need to put in a lot of effort in coming up with a very catchy title. Okay, because otherwise, the kind of impressions given to the editors is like, I think this is going to be very boring because your title already sound very boring. It doesn't sound anything unique. So yeah, put in more emphasis in terms of coming up with a catchy title. Now, in terms of word count for title, it very much depends from publisher to publisher. Sometimes some publisher will say that it should not be more than 20 words. Some publisher will say that it can be as lengthy as you wish, so long that there is no abbreviation and etc. So it really much depends on you, but you need to check this through the author guideline, yeah, for the journals that you are targeting. Okay, so that's number one, title. Now, imagine if I'm the editor, okay, and I saw, wow, you have a very catchy title. So what's next? Now, the next thing is we will look at your abstract. Okay, now someone will actually ask this very simple question: what do you mean by abstract? Okay, what do you mean by abstract? Now, abstract, in a very short simple explanation, it basically means that it's a summary. Okay, it's a summary of your entire article. So writing a thesis, you need to have an abstract as well. So similarly, writing a journal paper, you also need an abstract. Now, the word count, however, depends on, again, with the publisher. Some publisher will say that your summary must not be more than 100 words. Some publisher will say that it's fine so long that it's between 4 to 500 words, and vice versa, and etc. Now, a lot of times, as a reviewer, I realize that people don't know how to write an abstract. Um, the kind of mistakes that they often make is like they will, some of them, okay, will even have references in the abstract, or sometimes they'll say that please refer to and etc. Now, an abstract, number one, the key thing that you have to remember is that it has to be standalone. Okay, it cannot be like please refer to, or that is a or references and etc. It has to be standalone. Number two, the references again has to reflect the actual manuscript, because a lot of times when I look at the abstract, for example, someone mentioned that they are looking for theory A or theory B, but when we read the manuscript has nothing to do with theory A or theory B. So that is something which is wrong. Yeah, it has to be a reflection. Yeah, whatever that is written in your abstract has to be similar with your entire manuscript. Yeah, so that's number two. Now, number three, some people, when they write the abstract, they write certain important things, but those important things are not the actual important things. Okay, they are putting in something like additional background information, which to us it doesn't help or doesn't give any valuable informations for readers. Now the question here is this: then how do you find out what kind of concise informations to include in your abstract? So I always tell people, if you do not know how to write an abstract, okay, you just need to follow the Emerald way. Now, this Emerald structural abstract, to me, is probably one of the best examples for everyone who doesn't know how to write an abstract. Why? Because it is very systematic. It has sections by sections to tell you what are the important things that you need to include. For example, in an abstract, you must have a purpose. You must have an objectives, okay? And in an abstract, you must have your design, you must have your methodology, you must have your approach. In your abstract, you must write in the findings. Yeah, you must also write in your practical implications, your originality, and the value of your paper. Now, you can easily download any of the Emerald journals, okay? And you can just take a look at the format given, okay? So this is some examples of the papers that we have published previously, like blockchain-based halal traceability, height or reality. So take a look how we write that section, the purpose, okay? Our design, the methodology, or the kind of approach that we use. What is the findings? Yeah. What is the originality, the value of the paper? So it is very straightforward. It's not difficult. Just need to follow that structure. Now, assuming if you are not submitting to an Emerald journal and if you are submitting to other publisher, for example, you can still use the Emerald format. Nothing wrong. So instead of writing the word purpose, you just start off by given the emerging nature. Instead of writing the word design, methodology, and approach, just start off with a sample that comprises 143 Malaysian, blah, 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 and so on. All right. So this is what we call the Emerald structural abstract. And to me, to be very honest, it's really one of the best structure that you can actually use to guide you in writing. You can also use this for your thesis writing as well. All right. So this is the structural abstract. Now the next point here is basically keywords. Keywords are very important, okay, in publication for a few reasons. Now, from a editor viewpoint, keywords are important because sometimes I give you an example. Sometimes I handle papers that are related.
Sorry,
to...
Prof. Gary.
Yes, sorry.
Can you please remove the pop-up from your slide?
Oh, this one.
Hide. Not stop sharing. Hide the pop-up.
Hold on. Let me see again. Let me share this. Okay, let me share one more time. Hold on. Okay, sorry. You're saying what pop up? Is this okay?
No. Yes, but you see below, right, Gary? There's sharing your screen. Can you click on the height? Yeah, now it's better. Yeah.
Is this better like this?
Yeah. You share.
Height.
Oh, this one height like this?
Yeah.
Okay, I get you. Okay.
They're blocking the presentation. Yeah.
Okay. So sorry.
Now it's okay. Now it's okay. Yeah.
Okay, I can see. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Now, as I say, keywords are very important. For us as the editor, when we see the keywords, sometimes we handle papers that is not entirely our core area. Like for example, even though you talk about things like marketing is a very huge subject. There are people who does research on consumer behavior. There are people who does research on international marketing, or there are some people who actually does research on advertising, promotions, or there are some people who actually study on IMC and so on. So sometimes we do not know entirely everything in marketing. So we rely on keywords to search for potential reviewer for you. So you need to put in the right keywords. Otherwise, they will assign the wrong reviewer. So that's number one. Yeah. Why keywords are important for most of the editors. Number two, for you, okay, why keywords are important? You see, this is what I always stress, and this is what I firmly believe as well. In academic, there is no point for you to write like thousands of papers or even hundreds of papers, but at the end of the day, no one actually download, or no one actually cites your work. To be very honest, it's really very embarrassing if you write 100 papers and at the end, each of your paper have no citations. So to me, it's you see, in order for you to get citations, in the first place, there must be downloads. People must download your work. So the key thing, again, back to this, how do you get downloads? And a very important aspect is keywords. If you use the wrong keywords, definitely people will not be able to find your articles. So I give you an example. If you talk things like, let's say, for example, we want to do research related to online banking. Yeah, something very simple, online banking. Now, let me ask all of you, what kind of keywords? Okay, if you log into the Emerald database, what kind of keywords would you use in order for you to search for things like online banking? Now, some of you will say, okay, Gary, I will use the word online banking. Fine. Some of you will say, I will not use online banking. I will use the word internet banking. Okay. Some of you will say, instead of using internet banking, I probably will use electronic banking. Some of you will say, instead of electronic banking, probably I will use the word mobile banking. And some of you may say that I will actually use M-banking or e-banking. Now, this is an example of what I'm trying to say. Different people, when you search something online, you use different terms or to search. So if you do not know what are the popular keywords that people are using, chances is, even though your work is related to online banking, people is not able to search for your work. So that's why you must know, number one, what are the popular keywords and ensure they are reflected in your work, yeah, so that people can find your articles. Now, the other thing, okay, keywords are also important, because if you use the wrong keywords, okay, as I said, people cannot find your work. But importantly, you see, today there are many people who does research related to systematic literature review. There are many people who does research on bibliometric analysis. And if you know, in some of these SLR or bibliometric analysis, there are also rankings of authors. Like, for example, top 10 authors in the world in mobile commerce, or top 10 authors in the world in mobile payment. Now, if you use the wrong keywords, you're not going to be listed. Okay, like, for example, if this work is related to mobile payment, top 10 authors in the world in mobile payment, if you only use the word payment, even though your work is related to mobile payment, you are not going to be listed. So what I'm saying is that if you wish to be listed as one of the top professors in the world in a specific area, you need to ensure that those important keywords are being mentioned. Okay, so then people, when they start to do that kind of ranking, your name will appear. Now, the other important thing is about keywords. Yeah, I think that is the only two important things. Now, coming back, someone will ask this important question: how can I find those important keywords? Now, if you are very familiar with Google AdWords, yeah, you can actually find Google AdWords, and you can actually identify what are the popular keywords that people are actually searching. Now, there is also another way. Sometimes some journals, I give you examples like IEEE, yeah, IEEE database. When you scroll towards the bottom, there is this thing called there is a special box, and that box will tell you what are the popular keywords authors are actually searching at the moment. Aligning your work with those popular keywords, if relevant, will help you to increase visibility. It means that you know that these are the popular things people are searching. You put that in, the chances of your paper being discovered is going to be very high. And that, of course, as I say, downloads will lead to citation. All right, so keywords is very important. I do not know how to stress that importance, but I would say that a lot of people do not put in emphasis on this. Sometimes even my co-authors, when they have completed a paper, they don't even have a keywords, and the only time they will think about keywords is during submission. Yeah, so please, yeah, but please put in those important keywords. Now, I give you another examples. Now, when you look at title like this, interactive mobile social media advertising, yeah, an imminent approach to advertise tourism products and services. Now, I have seen people coming out with keywords. For example, mobile social media advertising. Okay, they use the word mobile social media advertising. Now, let me ask a very simple question. How many of you, if you're going to search for something that is related to this particular field, will you type the word mobile social media advertising? It's very unlikely that you will type that kind of keywords. You probably will type mobile, you probably will type social media, okay, and advertising. But you will not type mobile social media advertising. So you need to be very clever, yeah, in how you search for keywords as well, okay. So yeah, so that's keyword. So please put in, yeah, emphasis on keywords. Try to include popular keywords so that your work will be discovered. Okay, now that I have already shared things that are related to what do I say? Title. So I say for writing a title, it has to be catchy. So I give you 4 suggestions, and I stress on that if you do not know how to write, ask ChatGPT. Yeah. So that's about title. We talk about abstract. And I give you suggestion that again, if you do not know how to write an abstract, just follow the Emerald way. You cannot go wrong. Okay. I forgot to mention as well. In your abstract, apart from originality, there's a part on implication. If some of your research has implications that is related to social, if some of you have implications that are related to methodology, please include them as well. It will sound more interesting. It will sound like it has a lot of contribution. Okay, coming to the heart of the paper. Now, introduction is a very important thing in any paper. You see, I don't know for other editors, yeah, but for me, introduction gives the impression, the very important impression about your work, whether I want to accept or whether I want to reject your work. Now, I always tell people sometimes, right, no matter how well you write in section 2, or I mean in your literature review or in your other sections of your data analysis, if your introduction sounds boring, if your introduction sounds like outdated, somehow that perception given is I want to reject your paper. So to me, introduction forms a very important, perception for readers. That impression, the first impression, actually counts. Now, um, let me share with all of you. Yeah, a very short story. I share this story many times. Yeah, in some of my presentation. Um, you know, I started my career in the academic world 14 years ago. At the time, I didn't even have a PhD. Yeah, it's just a master. And I remember that when I started my career, my supervisor told me this, Gary, let's go for an international conference. So at the time, I've just started. I have no idea what it means by a conference. So I remember I asked him, "What do you mean by a conference?" Then he said that, oh, conference is a place where you actually pay money. Okay, you pay money, and then you get shoot, by people. People will throw you questions. People will criticize that your work is very bad and etc. So I was like, interesting. Why would you want to pay money, okay, and get criticized by other people? So that was my impression, about conference, when I started my career. So it doesn't matter. So both my supervisor and I, we went for the international conference in Bangkok. Yeah, Bangkok. So during that conference, I remember my supervisor called me, Gary, come. So I went over to my supervisor, and he told me, "Hey, you look over that side." So I stare, and he said, "That guy is a very famous editor in chief. Okay, very famous editor in chief." So I said, "Oh, okay." And the next thing, my supervisor said this, "Go and talk to him." Hmm. Now you see, when I started my career at 14 years ago, I'm very shy. It's like you ask me to talk to strangers. It's like it's so weird. And some more, you tell me that he's a professor, he's a very top editor, and I have no knowledge about education. I have no idea what to even talk. So anyhow, I braced myself and I went to speak with him. So I say, "Hi, Prof. I'm Gary. I've just started my academic career. Then he was so nice. He said, "Oh, Gary, welcome to this education. So we had a very nice chat, and thereafter he asked me a very important thing. He said this, Gary, would you like to learn anything? Would you want to ask anything, about research?" So I asked, yeah, maybe simple things like introduction. I just asked him a very simple question. How can I write a good introduction? Very simple, right? How can I write a very good introduction? He smiled, okay? He smiled at me and said, I'm going to tell you my secret. Yeah, I repeat. He smiled and he tell me, I'm going to tell you my secret. Wow, I tell you, very happy, really happy, because this is a top editor and that editor wants to tell me his secret. So I said, Prof, hold on. Okay, I went back to my table, I took a piece of paper and a pencil, okay, and I came back. So with a piece of paper, with a pencil, I started writing. So I said, Prof, start. So he start by telling me this. He said, have you published a paper before? So I said, yes. 14 years ago, I started publishing a paper, but back then I didn't know about all this thing called rankings. Yeah, I didn't know about this thing called indexes. It was just for fun, just taking my thesis, just summarizing it, and just dump it into a journal, and it actually went through. Yeah, so back then I was just a student. I just did it for the sake of fun, and I didn't know what is this thing called Scopus. I have no idea what it means by Web of Science, SSCI, SCIAHI. Totally no idea. So anyhow, when this professor asked, "Do you know what is a journal which is ranked higher than your initial publication, which is Scopus?" So I said, "Is it ISI?" He said, "Oh yes, it is ISI." Now ISI is the former name, okay, for WOS. Today we use a term called WOS, but many years back we always use the word ISI. So a lot of these very elderly professors, they are still very used to the term, ISI, but these are the old terms. Now, so he said, when he asked me this question, I said ISI. So he said correct. So he started, okay, go back home. So I started writing, go back home. Then he said, go and download a paper. So I wrote, go and download a paper. Now, he said this, no? Go back and download a paper, one paper every day. So I put the word download one paper every day. Then you know what he said next? Read the introduction. 1 year, I put down there, read the introduction. 1 year, I will have 365 ways, 365 ways of writing. Now, when he ended the word 1 year, 365 ways of writing, I stopped writing for a while. I stared at him. Okay, I was looking at his face to see whether he is serious or he's trying to pull my leg. Like, is he joking? I look at his face, very serious. He doesn't seem like he's laughing. So I was like, oh, is that all, Prof? He said, yes, that is all that you need to do. Then I said, thank you. And I stared again at his face, just to, reconfirm. He didn't smile. He didn't laugh. So to me, it sounded like a joke, because when a professor said that he wants to tell a secret, I don't know. I don't know whether this is a Asian mentality. When people say that I want to tell a joke, the perception is that when people say I want to tell a secret, that perception is a secret, a real secret, not asking me to download a paper, reading the introduction, and in a year I have 365 ways of writing. To me, that is really like a joke. So I went back to my supervisor and I told this to my supervisor, hey, prof, that editor that you asked me to speak with, he said, go back, and download a paper. 1 year, 365 ways of writing. Is he joking? My supervisor looked at me. He said, Mr. Tan, you are a very new academician, okay? You do not know. These are top professor. If top professor tell you this is the thing that you should do, you should do. You must have open mind. It means, in other words, you must be open to all these kind of suggestions from various people. So, okay, fair enough. Because as I said, I've just started my career. All right. So if my supervisor thinks, he's not joking and he's serious, I told myself there's always nothing to lose. Okay, probably I need to spend just additional 10 to maybe half an hour a day, but at the end it's really nothing to lose. Okay, so I started off by downloading a paper which is ISI, means WOS. So I started reading every day. Reflecting on this, right, I'm actually very amazed that I actually spent half a year reading that introduction every day. Okay, I did not question whether this is the right decision. I just do it. Okay, because I always believe that if I'm not smart enough, if someone who has this professor title can give me this suggestion, there could be a certain truth in it. So why not just give it a try? So I remember I spent really half a year every day reading just on introduction. Whether I understand the topic or I don't understand, it doesn't matter. I just do what he says. So I remember after half a year, my supervisor asked me this very important question. Did you learn anything? And I said, no, I really didn't learn anything. Every day is just, an introduction with different topics. What I learned, probably nothing, apart that I have more ideas now on different kind of topics to write. But then one day, really, I'm not joking with you. Suddenly, while reading the introduction, it's like I saw a light. It's like there's a light shining from the top to my head. Like you are the Buddha, the God, sitting, and then suddenly there was a light shining from the top, the enlightenment, Suddenly I discover something. What is that something that I discover? I discover a thing called pattern. Okay? Not intellectual property pattern. I'm using the word pattern, P-A-T-T-E-R-N. I saw that every paper has a pattern of writing. It means every introduction that I read, assuming if there are 5 paragraphs, I take the first paragraph, okay, I read the first paragraph. If I use my hand to cover the second, the third, and the fourth, more or less, I would know what the second paragraph is. I would know what is the third paragraph is. I would know what is the fourth paragraph is, because I saw that there is a pattern of writing. And then I realized that, hey, every introduction that I read, everyone has a pattern. The only differences, of course, it may not look entirely similar. Why? Because different people have different language ability. Some people speak and write better, so they are able to write a more fancier introduction. But the pattern is still the same. And what is this pattern that I have actually discovered? The first pattern, of course, is the big picture. Assuming if you are going to do a research that is related to mobile payment, for example, mobile payment in Malaysia, you are not going to start your introduction, the first paragraph, by telling me about mobile payment in Malaysia. That's wrong. You must always start with a big picture, giving people a context. what is this thing called mobile payment, so that people understand, this is called mobile payment, and giving people a broader view of how this mobile payment is around the world. That big picture, it's very important. Okay, so every paper always starts with a big picture, that concept of mobile payment, how is it like around the world. Then from a big picture, this is what I call funnel. From a big picture, it moves slowly to the second paragraph, which is the smaller picture on the mobile payment in Malaysia. Let's start to tell us, okay, about this context of mobile payment in Malaysia. Now, that's the first and the second paragraph. The third paragraph, after Malaysia, then people know, okay, now I understand what is mobile payment. I know how is it like in the world. I know how is it like in Malaysia. Now, what's the next important thing? Every research must have a problem. You see, when you do a research, to be very honest with you, every research is researchable. What do I mean by researchable? I can do any research. Like for example, why people drink water using their mouth but not through their nose? It's a researchable topic. But can you really find a problem that actually leads you to this research? Probably you can't. So a good research must always have a problem. Okay. Now, when you write that big problem, all right, the only thing here is what we realize is people always talk about things which are surface, like people, many people have done this studies, or in all around the world. No one actually does these studies in Malaysia, blah 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 and so on. So this is what we call surface kind of problem. It doesn't really tell us exactly that problem, apart that no one does it. But again, if no one does it, doesn't mean that there is a problem. Probably people do not even want to study this because it is not a problem. So the key thing that you need to think about when you want to address that problem is it should not just be surfacely, it should also be written at another lower level. It basically means that you need to tell us how this is related to whatever models that you are going to design later. I give you an example. If my research, okay, let's say for example, if you're doing a quantitative research, and you are doing some investigation in a model that it has something related to trust, then tell us in that problem, what is that issue of trust? Like for example, boyfriend girlfriend, yeah. Why the boyfriend treats the girl so well, every day, tell the girl, so treat the girl so well, but the girl at the end of the day still say, I don't love you. So you want to investigate, why, sorry, the girl said, I don't trust you. So you want to investigate why, despite putting in all this effort, but the return doesn't seem to be similar to your effort. So you say, okay, I want to study the issue of I want to study this thing called trust. So then tell us what's the issue about that trust. So that connection is very important, and that is again things that is missing from a lot of papers that we have seen. All right, so try to relate, that kind of problem. And the next thing, of course, is the importance. Why this study is so important? At the end of the day, if this study is not being conducted, so what? Who's going to lose out, and etc. So that importance of that subject, solving that problem. Why is it so important? You need to address that out. And you need to tell us that contribution, eventually, how that helps in practice, theory, and etc. So this format that I've just shared with you, honestly, is the same with whatever papers that you download. People always have this pattern of writing. The only differences is the style of writing. The language that they use is slightly different, but it is eventually the same. So if you read a lot, you realize that these patterns are similar. Now, let me share something. In my school, we do not just publish, in any SSCI journals. We go for quality ranking lists. Like for example, we put emphasis on ABDC ranking. I will share more later. We put emphasis on ABS ranking journals. This ABDC ranking journals is the Australian Business Dean Council. The ABS is the Academic Journal Guide, yeah, or what we call the All Business School, that is used widely in UK. Now, publishing in all those quality list journal requires another set skills. Yeah, it's not as simple or straightforward like publishing in a normal SSCI journals. So I remember there was a time where we need to put in emphasis on all these quality journals, like for example publishing in A star journals, level 4 star journals, and henceforth. So I was struggling, and I asked myself, okay, the same thing, how can I break into these top ranking journals? I asked this for a long period, and I suddenly remember 14 years ago, there was this professor who said, download a paper, okay, read it. 1 year, you have 365 ways of writing. Suddenly, I recall his advice. And I told myself, if I'm going to read a A rank journal every day, just by looking at the introduction, would I be able to write a fantastic introduction? So that I can penetrate into all this A rank journal. So I did the same thing, okay? And I spent about, I think, probably about 2 to 3 months, analyzing patterns after patterns after patterns, just by seeing how people write the introduction. You know what? I saw again, my God, there is patterns of writing as well. And these patterns, are even more interesting because they have a style which is so unique that makes people hook, that you want to know or you want to read more. Now, I give you an example. Earlier, I shared with you this pattern called big picture, small picture, then telling us about that problem, that importance, how that study actually contributes to society, to methodological practicals, and henceforth. That is probably what you will see for most of the SSCI journals. Now, let me show you another quality journals, how they write the introduction, that patterns of writing. Now, instead of starting with a big picture, going to a smaller picture, the style differs. They start off by emphasizing on the theory as that introduction. Okay? Now, let me give you an example. When somebody write a title, okay, let me give you an example. If I ask you this thing called gravity, what do you understand by gravity? Okay, don't answer. Keep it in your mind. So I start off by writing my introduction. I say, gravity. Gravity is something that you throw, okay? Eventually, it will fall. Imagine I start my introduction by writing that. Something that you throw, eventually that it will fall. Now, my second paragraph, after I explain about this concept of gravity and how it should behave in a river, my second paragraph starts by saying this. In Malaysia, however, gravity doesn't work that way. In Malaysia, anything that you throw, it will go up higher and higher, and eventually it will never come down. You imagine, if you are the reader, the first thing is that, are you sure gravity, doesn't work like how it should work in the world? In this world, you will be very curious and you want to continue to read that article to see what kind of the problem that you mentioned, what kind of methodologies that you're using to answer this question. So you hook that reader, and this is the kind of style that all the top quality papers are writing. So I just want to give you these examples to let you know that if you really spend time, if I can put this, the biggest takeaway that I wanted to share in today's sharing is, if you're really serious in penetrating into those top ranked journals, you must start by reading quality work. Because if you read hundreds of papers at a lower bottom journals, there is no way you're able to pick up the kind of style of writing. And if you spend your day, downloading a paper every day, and you spend half a year reading, I can tell you, you will find that there are more than 30 to 50 over patterns of writing. You will be a master of writing introduction. I'm not kidding. This is a very simple thing. It sounds stupid. I'm not saying that it's stupid. It sounds like, are you sure? But it really works. Okay. So personally, if I could share, this would be a very important strategy for all of you. Yeah. Read those top journal, look at the patterns. Okay. Next, literature review. All right. Now, what exactly is a literature review? In a very simple English, literature review basically means is a review of past studies that is related to your topic, anything. Now, in a literature review, again, there are only two important things that you must put emphasis on. Number one, a literature review should include anything that is related to your topic. So you could have one paragraph on anything, okay, so long that that particular topic is related to whatever things that you are doing. Number two, if you are in social sciences, business, humanities, you need to have the second important things, which is what we call a theory. Okay, without a theory, your paper fails. But if you are from the science, you don't need to have a theory, yeah, because theory doesn't really exist, yeah, in science-based research. So you just need to focus on that whatever topic that is related to your work. That is good enough, yeah. But if you are social sciences, theory has to come in. Now, before I explain further related to all this theory, I always like to ask this important question. Let me share this with all of you. I always tell people that when I receive a paper, even though for example, I'm an associate editor for some of the journals in Emerald, I don't need to spend the next half an hour or 1 hour reading a paper. I just need less than a minute to know who you are, the kind of knowledge that you have. Only in a minute, I know. How I know? I only need to look at your reference. Let me repeat. If I want to know the quality of your knowledge, whether you are a junior academician or whether you are a student, whether you are a professor, I will know in less than a minute. Not by reading your paper, just by looking at your references. Now, some of you will be very puzzled and say like, really? Just by looking at references? Okay, let me give you an example. Okay, imagine you are going for your Viva. All right. So you went in. You go in. Examiner asks this question. Can you tell me your research area? So you say, oh, my research area is related to tourism, for example. Okay, so examiner say, oh, very good. Now, the next question they ask, how many years have you spent doing research in tourism? Then you say, 8 years. Just joking. Okay, so you say, 3 years. All right. Then examiner say, oh, very good. Oh, you spent a long time, yeah, doing research. Then examiner asks, okay, since you spent 3 whole years doing research in marketing, tell me, what are the top 3 journals in your area? Do you know? All of you in this room, ask yourself, do you know your main field? Do you know your subfield? Okay, if you know, my next question is, do you know what are the top journals in your area? Can you answer this question? Now, this is very important. Why? You see, editors are expert in their topics. Editors, they understand, they are masters of these topics. When they look at your references, they would know whether you are someone just by looking at your references, because people who have no knowledge in writing, they will not know what to cite, what kind of paper to cite. I will bet with you, you will be citing predatory journals. I can bet with you that you will be citing journals that are blacklisted. I will bet with you that you are citing journals that are totally low rank. And low rank journal is just like building a structure. If your house is built from bricks, the structure of course is stronger. Bricks here represents quality work. If your house is built by by straws, by grasses, and etc., it's not going to be structurally well structured. If people blow, your house will fall, you'll tumble. So the key thing here is this: if you do not know what kind of papers to cite, the idea is people know you are not a researcher, and they will reject you. So I do not know how much importance I have to stress that you need to show to the editors, you need to show to the reviewers that, number one, you have that knowledge of quality papers. Okay, you must show people that you know who to cite. Very important. Okay, and you must show them in your work to show that my work has quality. All right. Now, number two, assuming that you tell me, all right, Gary, I know what kind of journals to cite. Then my next most important question here is this: do you even know who are the top authors in your area? You need to have them in your work to show that kind of conversation. Okay, that these work are connected with all these top work of what past authors have done. So it's very important that, number one, always remember you must know the top journals in your own area, yeah, and you must know who are these top leading authors in your work. You need to bring them in as part of that conversation, yeah, in your work. Okay, so these are two important things that you must always remember before you start to write your literature review. All right. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about this. I just probably a very quick one. So this is what we call the indexes of journals. Yeah. So if you do not know what is this indexes of journals, this is Web of Science. Okay. I'll use the word. Probably I'll use the word called Clarivate Analytics. So Clarivate Analytics is formerly known as ISI. Okay, and it's widely used in. It's an American-based ranking, so it is widely used for THE World Ranking. Okay, so I think a few months back, I think UTP is considered one of the number one university in Malaysia based on THE because the numbers of publications at this level is extensive. Now, another ranking, which is Scopus. So Scopus is very much towards QS ranking. Okay, and most universities in Malaysia do go for QS, so they put more emphasis on publications that are indexed to Scopus. But if you talk about quality, to be very honest with you, social sciences journals, a lot of them are, I mean, they are more in Scopus compared to Web of Science. Okay, for Web of Science, it is very much geared towards science-based journal. But like it or not, for promotions, yeah, for most universities, people again look at WOS. Now, coming to this, at this top, of that pyramid is what I say, Clarivate Analytics. And Clarivate Analytics actually has about 19 indexes. Yeah. So not all indexes in Clarivate Analytics are valuable. I give you an example. Some Clarivate Analytics, they have index like zoology, Biosis Preview, and etc. They are not important. Why? Because they are not counted in the world ranking. Yeah. The world ranking only consider only four, which is SCI, Social Science Citation Index, Science Citation Index, SCI, Science Citation Index Expanded, and Arts and Humanity Index. Only four. And this is known as Web of Science. There is another additional one known as ESCI, Emerging Source Citation Index, but ESCI It's not counted for world ranking. It only tells you that if the journal is listed in ESCI, it has a potential to be indexed to WOS in the future, like SSCI, SCI, SCIE, and AHI, but it is not at this very moment. Okay, so try to ensure that when you cite papers, do cite at least Scopus and above. Please do not cite low ranking or journals that is not even indexed. It doesn't reflect well on your paper. Yeah. Importantly, please don't even cite non-indexed journals. It doesn't bring any credibility to your work at all. Okay. So try to stick between Scopus and above. Okay. As I already said, what is a good literature review? So a literature review is a review of past studies, anything that is related to your topic. So normally we will have two important things. One basically will be a discussion on anything that is on your topic. And if you are from social sciences, humanities, we will have another thing called theory. Okay. Now I'm just going to start off with this thing called theory. Assuming that if you are from the humanities, business school, educations, arts, theory is very important. Okay. Now, I want to tell you a secret. A lot of top journals, okay, you need to have a theory, but the kind of theories that they are looking for is basically a grandiose theory and not a middle range theory. Now, someone will ask this question: what's that difference between a grandiose theory and a mid range theory? Now, to make this, because this webinar is just an hour plus, to make your understanding easier, I just simplify it and say this. Maybe a theory has two. Okay, simple: grandiose and mid range. So what is a mid range? I start off with mid range. What is a mid range theory? A mid range theories are usually a theories with pictures. Simple, a theory with pictures. Okay, and that picture actually guide you to explain something. Like, like for example, technology acceptance model (TAM), yeah, is a very good example of a middle range theory. And this theory has a picture, yeah, something like this. It says that intention is formed through the perception of attitudes, and attitude is formed through that perception of usefulness, the ease of use, and etc. Okay, so that is what we call a mid-range theory, a theory that has a picture, very easy to understand. So you have a lot of these mid-range theories, which includes theory of reason action (TRA), theory of planned behavior, technology acceptance model, UTAUT, UTAUT2, diffusion of innovations, and etc. Now, the secret of publishing is this. I share with you. 2 years back, I did a special issue. I can't recall. It was a International Journal of Bank Marketing in Emerald or Internet Research, either one. This special issue we did on a topic of mobile payment. Now, you see, when we received the paper, I can tell you honestly, most papers are really well written. Really, really, really well written. But it was a very straightforward decision. The paper got rejected in less than probably 3-4 minutes. Why? 8 out of 10 papers that we received uses middle range theories. And there is nothing wrong to use a middle range theories. But the only problem here is these middle range theories are usually popular theories. And 8 out of 10 are actually using it. I repeat the word, 8 out of 10, they are all using this popular theory. In other words, everyone is doing the same thing. You will not see it from an editor like us, because we are the one that receive your paper. When we look, oh, it's this again. Oh, it's the same theory again. Oh, another paper is the same theory. It could be from a different context, yeah, a different subject, but the theory is the same. how am I going to accept your work? If I'm going to accept your paper, naturally I should accept the second or the third or the fourth, because every paper is written equally well. So the point here is this: if you're really going to use a middle range theory, all right, the first thing is you must avoid the popular theory. If a theory is so popular, please don't use it. All right. I know some of you will say that, oh, because it's popular, I should be using it. But publishing is not that way. Publishing, people look at that novelty, how unique, how special your paper. If your paper is the only one, no one writes something similar, then your paper is very, very unique. If your paper is similar like what others are doing, how are we going to accept your work? So, firstly, avoid popular theories. Okay? Now, sometimes when you read papers, this is again the issue. Why people, okay, why people, like my own PhD students, spending time reading 300-400 papers, at the end you'll tell me, oh, this is still all the theories that they use, and these are all those popular theories. And the student will say, there is nothing additional thing that I can find. Why? Because you are reading the wrong paper. When you read low quality papers, you will see this kind of theories. If you read top journals, quality journals, you will see quality theories. Theories which you have never heard of before. And if I may, tell you the important takeaway again from second part on the literature review is, you need to read quality journals to identify theories which is not too well known. Okay, because sometimes the theories could be similar, but they have different names. Top quality journals will use those things which are quite similar as well, but they may have a different name that makes it more unique. Like you are the only one in a million that is doing this. And this is what we want. Okay? Now, this is if you are doing a mid-range theory. What if you are doing a grand theory, a grandiose theory? So I say a middle range theory here, it tells you that it has a picture. But a grandiose theory has no picture. Totally no picture at all. Okay? Basically, it's just words to describe something. Okay? I repeat that. Grandiose theory basically is just words to describe something. It has no picture. And let me tell you another secret of publishing, tips to getting into very high tier rank journals. They love grandiose theory. A lot of top journals, they use grandiose theory, because when you read the literature review, it's you will find that, hey, it's very weird. You cannot see that relationship between that theory and that model. It is not so explicitly written. You have to really read, understand how that theory works, and see that connection. I give you an example. Okay. What do I mean by this grand theory? Now let's say, for example, I'm doing a research on why elderly consumers. Okay, I give you an example. During COVID, okay, elderly people are, they are easily infected by COVID, and during that time, when they go shopping, they have to pay, and touching money is really dirty. There is a possibility that when you touch, you get infected with COVID. Now, saying so, there is this thing called mobile payment. Okay, it already exists, before COVID time. Now, the question here is this: knowing that touching money is so dangerous and they actually fall into COVID that easily, why elderly people are not using mobile payment? Simple thing. Why elderly people are not, using mobile payment? Because that eventually can save their life. Now, imagine you're doing a research that is related to this. So You have things like, or maybe one of the reason could be like knowledge, maybe influences of friends, blah blah blah, and so on. Now imagine you're doing this research. In order for you to apply a grandiose theory, you must, number one, understand what is that ultimate objective of your research. So your whole entire paper, what is the main objective that you want to solve? So the main objective for that research that I've just shared is I want to understand why elderly people is resisting on this technology, even though it's beneficial to them, even though it can save their life. Why are they resisting to this technology? So you need to find a theory that explain about why human resist, or what is that psychology of resistance, why people are refusing something. So you need to find a theory that talks about resistance that matches your work, because your main objective is why people resist, or why people resist on certain things. So find a theory that talks about why people resist. That's your grand theory. And doing a grand theory is very difficult because, number one, you must know your objective. Okay. Number two, you must read. Reading a theory is not so straightforward. It's not about I know who is the one who wrote this paper. Writing a theory, you must understand the objective of that theory. What's the reason this theory exists? That's very difficult because it requires a lot of in-depth reading. So sometimes, when we ask students say, I use a SOR model, what stimulus, what organism response in their model. And I ask this, so who created SOR? They say, Gary. I said, since when I created SOR? They said, oh, I saw your paper on SOR. I didn't create SOR. The point here is you must read enough to know that it was created by this person, ABC. So point here is writing a theory part requires a lot of reading, especially if you want to use a grandiose theory. A lot of top papers will use a grandiose theory and not a mid-range theory. All right. Now, writing a theory as well, just to explain more, it is not just entirely descriptive. So you see, you have to understand this. Writing a literature review, the poorest writers will write in a very descriptive form, telling us what the theory is. And this, again, is not what we want. We want you to put in a voice. We want to know things which is different. We want to know things which is more unique, something more. Now, writing a theory, as I say, is not just descriptive. Okay, writing a theory is very important that you must have that understanding of that theory, the evolution of the theory. The first point, the evolution of the theory, how that theory actually started from the past, how the theory is at this very present moment, how the theory has evolved in the future, and so on. I give you an example. If you are writing things like TAM, Technology Acceptance Model, TAM doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It started from TRA, TPB, and it moved to TAM. And now you have things like TAM2, TAM3, and then you even have things like Meta-TAM and so on. So you can see that is what we call an evolution. Writing a theory is very important that you give the audience, you give the editor, the reviewer, the idea that, wow, you know the entire history of that theory. And this is where people fail. Sometimes they don't even know that the theory has actually evolved into something else. They don't even know the past. They don't even know who created the theory, and they cite, the papers of the theory from someone who is not the original author. That is really, really, really doesn't sound right. It tells us straight away you do not know the theory. Okay? When you write the theory, you need to put in your own voice. People always ask this question, especially PhD students. Sometimes, how do you really put in your own voice? Putting in your voice, to me, to make it easy for you to take away, try to criticize the theory. Tell us the weaknesses of the theory. So that will be like putting in another perspective of a theory. Okay, so when you write your theory, don't just write things which are positive. Try to criticize it and tell us something about that weaknesses of that theory. And third point, if you can, this is what editor love to see: debates after debates. What do you mean by debates after debates? We like to see the differences of literature that talks about what A said, B doesn't agree, what B said, A doesn't agree. It means like, how would I use a better word to describe? It means like there is like a conflicting views, yeah, between authors that talks about a topic. So we love to see that kind of conflicting views because it shows that this theory is, the way that you write is very critical. Okay, you know what are the debates that people are talking about. Like the convergence divergence debate. No, team A talks that this is like this, but team B again, they criticize team A and say that no, this is wrong. Team C say in another perspective. This is what we like to see, that argument. Yeah, and that shows that critical way of writing, not telling us A is created by who, who used this theory, blah blah blah, and so on. This kind of writing, you will never go far. Okay, so I hope you understand, yeah, something about theory. Okay, I can't explain a lot because we are also rushing time. Now it's almost 11. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the second thing. Earlier we talked about theory. Now we talk about things, like let's say for example you're from the sciences. You need to write like past studies that or those experiments that people have been conducted on that particular topic. So when you write, okay, this kind of writing, Tan and all found relational bonds affects intention. Wong, found relational bonds has significant relationship. Now, this kind of writing is what I call the worst writing ever. Why? Because it really tells us nothing. I really do not know anything apart that Tan found something, Wong found something, and so on. So the key point, the tips that I want you to remember is when you write your literature review, it is not really about the number of your references. It is about the quality and the depth of your discussion or your writing that is important. So if I can suggest to all of you, instead of writing 20 references in your literature review, try to select the best 8 or 10 references and go in detail. So, for example, if you want to write Tan found relational bonds affecting intention, then tell us in detail what's new, what's the original, what is the unexpected things from their result. Go in, dive in, write in detail. Choose important studies and dive and tell us more. That is what we want to see. Not many references, but if you read, there is just no knowledge from the references. So the quality of references are very important. The depth of your discussion are very important. Now, the other thing, when you write your past studies, let's say, for example, if you're from the sciences, so you want to tell us about study A, study B, study C, study D, it's fine. Yeah, no issue. You can also write, in depth. But what is missing is what I always say, the black box issue. What exactly is a black box issue? Now, I always give people this very simple example. Let's say we have two relationships, okay? The first relationship is related to something like this, usefulness, okay? When something is useful, okay? When something is useful, that relationship will show that there is an intention to use, okay? When something finds something is useful, there is intention or desire of usage. Very clear relationship. Now, let's say this. If you agree with this statement, there is something useful, that is relationship with usage, then the second examples that I'm going to give, you have to agree as well. So what is this second example? Boyfriend, girlfriend, stay together. Okay? Boyfriend, girlfriend, stay together leads to baby. Would you agree? Boyfriend, girlfriend, stay together leads to baby. Of course, some of you will say, No, Gary, it doesn't work that way. It would not happen. Boyfriend and girlfriend stay together definitely will not lead to baby. Ridiculous. All right. So now back to the main point. If you agree that usefulness leads to intention or usage, technically you should also agree that boyfriend girlfriend stay together eventually leads to baby. But they don't. Now, a black box issue is this. When someone reads your work, okay, to you, you understand your topic very well. You are able to see usefulness tang, 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 is leading to intention. But to another person who is not familiar with your work, how I read is boyfriend, girlfriend leads to baby. So what does that mean? It means that you are not able to show us how they are really linked. That process is missing from your writing. You need to tell us, for example, usefulness. How usefulness eventually leads to intention. For example, you say maybe mobile shopping. Yeah, you can shop through your mobile device, and probably during office hour or during your break time, you can play with your phone, you can do your shopping, and then you have more time to spend with your family. Everyone is happy, so that motivation, desire to use is very high. So people can see, oh, this is how it's related. Okay, if you do not explain, a lot of times how people see is boyfriend, girlfriend, baby. How they are related. So this happens because not everyone is as expert in your topic. Okay, a lot of times people are not expert, so when they read as option number 2, but you see it as option number 1. So what I'm trying to say is that if you can, when you explain something, that relationship, try to tell us that process, how they are related. Okay, other important things that you should always take note is try to avoid a laundry list. As I always stress again, references is not really the number. Okay, it's the quality of your references that are important. This kind of writing, no. Okay, please do not do this. It tells us really nothing, and it takes up a lot of your space. Yeah, because journals today, a lot of journals have their word counts, and writing too much again is not going to be good for you, because if you have too many references, it's going to limit your numbers of word counts to write. So try to reduce your references, only focus on references which are very important, and go in depth. Okay, don't write in this way. Okay, so I have already stressed the importance of quality of your references, okay, and etc. Now, someone will ask this. So, Gary, how do I know the top papers in my journals? So earlier I mentioned that, imagine you go for Viva and the examiner asks this: do you know what are the top 3 journals in your area? So how do you know? Now, if you are from the social sciences, humanities, there is this ranking called ABDC. So I think the latest ranking is 2021 or 2022. ABDC is widely used in Australia. Now, the one that I want to show to you is this: A and A stars. These are really the best of the best. If you can, bring them in your conversation, bring them in as part of your references. If you want to look at the theory, look at how these theories are being written. Okay, it's really, really interesting. All right. The other ranking list that so you can see the areas. You have like accounting, you have things like finance, management, and etc. Okay, now another list that is used for quality is the Academic Journal Guide, or we call it the ABS ranking list. Now, this ABS ranking list is used widely in the United Kingdom and in some of the European universities. So instead of having A and A star, they base it on 4 and 4 stars being the highest. But to be very honest with you, publishing in journals that are indexed to level 3, 4, and 4 stars are really, really difficult. Yeah, because the number of papers that are listed in the ABS ranking is actually lesser than the ABDC ranking. To be very honest with you, even to publish in some of these journals like 4 and 4 star is gonna take ages. Yeah. Yesterday, I was having dinner with one of the editor-in-chief of Emerald. It's a SSCI editor-in-chief. He told me that he has recently published in this journal, Leadership Quarterly. It's a very top-ranked journal. And he told me that it took 4 years for the papers to get accepted. And so far, I have already heard multiple times, those who wanted to publish in FT50, Financial Times, those level 4, 4-star, A-star journals, it takes on average 3 to 5 years for a paper to get published. 3 to 5 years is not 1, 2, 3 revision. It is probably 10 to 15 revisions. That is how long it is. And these are really top ranked journals. Okay, something interesting for you to know. All right, so these are the list of journals which are listed in the ABS ranking. Yeah, so you can see level 4, 3, 2, and 1. So four stars represent the best of the best. So if you could, please bring them in your conversation. All right, so these are the lists. Yeah, so as I said again, there is also another list called FT50. Yeah, so you can see those really good journals, Academy of Management journals, Journal of Entrepreneurship Theory and Practice, HBR, Information System Research, Journal of Consumer Research, Journal of Consumer Psychology, Journal of Marketing, Management Science. This is what we call the God journals, really God, because it is so difficult to get a paper in this list. And if you really can get a paper in this list, you can really fly. Not kidding, you really can fly, because these are really the best of the best. Yeah, MISQ, MIT Sloan Management Review, Operation Research, strategic management journals, yeah, and so on. And there is also another list, the Utility Dallas list is even more tougher. It's only 24. You can publish in Marketing Science, Journal of Marketing Research, wow, you are like, and so on. And, in some of these universities, like even in China, they are starting to adopt UTD 24 lists. Very, very difficult. But these are really good journals. And of course, today, I'm not asking you to publish in FT50, okay? But I just wanted to let you know that these are really what we call quality journals. And the reason why I introduce quality journals to you is for one specific reason. I want you to read their introduction. I want you to know that writing introduction actually to hit all those top journals is not difficult. You can see there is a pattern, but you must read quality papers, because if you don't read quality papers, even though you read 300, 500, 1,000 papers, it's not going to help if you are reading the low quality journals, because the kind of writing is not going to bring you far. Okay, that's number one. Number two, when you want to write your literature review, again, if you read the poor quality ranked journals, you are not going to break through to all these top ranked journals. Why? Because the kind of theories that you read from all these poor quality journals, they are usually, as I said, it is the middle range theories. It is the theories which are really, really popular, and you copy their work, you're not going to go far. But if you read quality journals, you are going to go far. I share with you. Recently, one of my my co-author, okay, managed to publish in an FT50 paper. All right. So my co-author research is related to marketing. Yeah. So he was sharing his work with me. So his work, I just give an example. Okay. I just want to show to you that differences of writing. His work is about counterfeit product. Okay. Why consumer buy counterfeit products? All right. Simple work. All right. The only thing that blew me away, yeah, is his theory. Instead of like, okay, a normal person who does research in marketing, if I want to do research on why people buy counterfeit, why consumer buy counterfeit product, probably I would just find a theory that is related to marketing. okay, to say that why people engage in all these activities, to explain or to support my theory. But the work that he has published doesn't use consumer theories. He used fish marine biology theories. He talks about fishes, how fishes behave in the oceans, okay? How these fishes behave in the oceans that mimic why consumer buy counterfeit products. He uses a fish to represent a human. I was like, wow, my God. I could not believe what he has written because this is so unique. The idea that he has written is like, I've never thought of it before. Okay, it is so unique. Okay, folks. Can you just give me 1 minute? Sorry. Hello. Can you see me?
Yep.
Yes,
Okay.
bro.
So sorry. So sorry. This now, my 5-year-old son opened my door. So sorry. Yeah. Okay. So let me get back. Present. Stop. Okay. Yeah. Can you still see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah. Well. Okay. Okay, so these are the FT 50 UTD Dallas 24. So I was saying that the paper, why is it so unique was because the theory that it's using is like groundbreaking. I never ever imagined that someone can do a research in marketing and apply a theory from another perspective, which is just mind-blowing. So this is what I want to say to all of you. Sometimes you don't need to go far and read 100 over journals. You just need to read one quality paper, look at the kind of theory that they use, and if you can actually borrow their work and put it in your work, I tell you, your paper will go very far. It's so easy to get into all these top journals because the work looks unique. The key word is unique. It sounds like you are the only one that is doing that work. That is a kind of impression that we want, you want the editors to feel, because when they see that, they will accept your paper. I just want to give you an example of how I say by just looking at your references, more or less, we know the quality of your work. You just take a look at this paper, MISQ Quarterly, yeah, FT50 paper, Psychological Methods, yeah, Journal of Academy of Marketing Science, European Journal of Operation Research, MISQ, Psychometrica, Journal of Marketing Research, MISQ, Journal of Operation Management, Journal of Academy of Marketing Science, yeah, Journal of Academy of Marketing Science, JBR, Long Range Planning, blah, 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 and so on. So you can see, I don't need to read the entire paper. I just look at what kind of papers that you have cited. I know definitely you cannot be someone normal. You cannot be an ordinary student because these are quality, very, very top papers. Only those who are into that game of publishing will know what kind of papers to cite and to play around with it. If you are not into that level, you will not be able to do it. So this is where I was saying you need to create that impressions to the editors that, hey, I am an expert, even though you may not be, doesn't matter. But the kind of references should portray or give that impression to someone that I know that work. Okay, so this is why references are important. Now, methodology, I'm not gonna talk more, but I just want to stress on one very important thing, especially from my area. You see, today, if you are going to publish in a lot of those top ranked journals, people are not interested anymore with those survey, blah blah blah, study. They are now moving to another direction. Okay, what kind of direction that they are looking for in terms of methodology? If you really want to break into those level 4 stars, they are now interested with this thing called, listen carefully, yeah, multi-data, multi-method technique. Okay, I repeat again, top journals are now into multi-data, multi-method technique. Okay. Now, I'm not going to explain too much, but I just want to give you an idea. Now, what is this multi-data, multi-method technique? Now, if you download uh, papers, okay, you will realize that today a lot of papers will have this kind of format. Study number one. Okay, this is what they do. Study number two. This is what they do. Study number three. This is what they do. In one paper, they will have 2 or 3 different studies. This is what we call multi-data, multi-method technique. In other words, the data collection for study number one, okay, is probably focusing on group A, using maybe using this ABC technique. Then study number two, it has to be a different group, a totally different group from the first group. And the method that you analyze has to be different from your first method. So this is what we call multi-data, different data, multi-method, different method. And these are what top journals are looking for today. If you don't master this technique, it's going to be very difficult for you to penetrate into all these top journals. So start to look, when you look at those papers, look at those like study 1, study 2, study 3. Those are the clues for multi-data, multi-method techniques. Yeah. Okay. Next, I think we have just another 10, 15 more minutes. Discussion. Yeah. Maybe to cut it short. When you want to write your supporting evidences for discussion, why some things are supported or not supported, normally what we do is that we will provide references to back us up. That's number one. And number two, we will actually provide our justification. Okay, so that justification sometimes could be based on rationality. Okay, or it could be based on empirical papers to support. Now, let me tell you one important thing. If you want to make your discussion sounds more original, sounds more unique, learn to do this. You can actually use different subject areas to support your discussion. I give you a very good example. Like if you're gonna write things like marketing research, okay? Now, instead of finding a paper from marketing to support my discussion, I actually can find papers from psychology to explain why consumer actually behave in this way. Or I can actually borrow paper from maybe from cross culture to actually support my statement. So if you are able to bring different areas, okay, different subject to support your argument, even though this is marketing, that will enhance the quality of your argument. And this is what I use the word originality, because people in the future will definitely cite your work because, wow, this is a great answer to support certain things. Yeah, so think about that as number one. Number two, if you're not able to find references to support, so a lot of times people will put in their a sort of like an opinion, and this is where opinion can be accepted, but the opinion has to be something so rational that everyone agrees with it. What do I mean? Now, if I ask this question and say all ladies in this room love pink color, some of you will say, Gary, that is not true. I like black. I don't like pink. So people will not entirely agree with this statement. So when I use the word something which is so rational that everyone can agree, is something that you throw the question and maybe out of 10, everyone say, yeah, maybe that is a point. So I give you an example. All right. Many years ago, I did a research paper on something to do with PDA adoption among medical doctors. Okay. Now, the idea here is very simple. In Asia, social influences is very, I will use the word that is very strong. A lot of times, Asian society, we tend to listen to family members, or we are easily influenced by friends, family members, relatives, and etc. So we assume that if I'm going to do a studies on PDA adoption, there is a very high chances that if these doctors are Asians as well, influences will be very strong, yeah, compared to if you are from the Western countries. Now, the research shows that social influences is not supported. So what's that logical reasons to explain? So we throw and we say this: medical doctors, Yeah, the word is they are doctors. What does doctor means? Means that they are probably highly educated. So highly educated people, not all, but you can say that majority will think basing on rationality. They will use, they will process things using their brain. They will not be easily influenced by people. So even though influences is very strong in the Asian culture, but because doctors are, highly educated people, where highly educated people usually thinks, and do not act irrationally, they will not simply follow their friends and say, I'm going to use that product. Yeah, they will think before they act. So that's how we argue. Something that people generally will say that I think is can be accepted. All right. And this is what we are looking for. And towards the end of every research, there must be contribution. Okay. What kind of contributions your study brings? Yeah. Normally, for most papers in social sciences, you would have your practical and theoretical contribution. So practical contribution basically means that how these studies actually contributes to organizations. Yeah, how organizations actually can apply whatever that the findings has generated. Theoretical basically means that how these studies is contributes to that subject, to the field that you are doing your research. Now, instead of just focusing on theoretical and practical, you may also think about putting in like your methodological. You may think about putting in your social implication as well. So I gave a paper here that you can take a look. Gender and Age Today, Moderate Mobile Tourism Shopping Behavior, where we talk about theoretical, managerial, methodological, and social. But bear in mind, not every research paper will have methodological, not every paper will have social contribution. But if your paper has it, it's good to bring it in. All right. And sometimes it's good that if you take a look on certain journals like methodological journals, they do have very good way of writing that kind of contribution where you can actually borrow. Okay. So when we talk about journals, it's not just applied research. There are journals which are really like what I said, methodological journals, or journals which are practical journals, practitioner journals like Harvard Business Review. Those are different kinds of journals category. So sometimes you can borrow how they are writing, and just plug it in into your methodological or your social contribution. All right. So that's it. So yeah, so you can find me on Facebook. Search for Gary Tan Wei Han. All right. So thank you very much. So I pass it back to Elvin. Is it?
Yep.
Uh,
I think pass back to the UPM library. Ida would take
Aida, yes.
Okay, thank you, Professor Gary, for the very interesting and fruitful presentation. We will now move into the Q&A session. I encourage everyone to share their questions. You can open your microphone or type the question into the chat box. We will do our best to address as many questions as possible in the time we have. Okay, look at the chat box. We start question from Panwar Muhammad Ibrahim. Dear Prof, is it correct to choose keywords from the title only?
Oh, not really. You don't need to choose the title just from your keywords. Sometimes you can expand your keywords by even including methodology. Yes, like for example, if you are using mixed method, yeah, even though it's not in your title, you can use mixed method as your keyword, because some people will actually search paper that is mixed method. So you just need to be very creative. All right, I hope that helps. You can also
Okay.
include keywords like your theory. If, for example, you are using TAM and you know that TAM is the most popular theory in the world, why not? Okay, because you know that people will definitely search for TAM and the chances of your paper will definitely be discovered. All right.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Yes, I'm Sargawi.
Hello.
Hello, Prof. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can I speak now? All right. Just back to your patent writing. I would see here what you are doing is very creative work. It is very highly designed. Well, you know what the conventional way of doing is funnel. What do you call funnel system of doing this? From big idea to now.
Yes.
Is it possible for in a way that we do the writing through crooked writing. Crooked pattern, really. And it looks like if in the form of performing arts, we can have the flashback. You start from the bottom, and then at the end of the day, you see the big picture. Is it okay like that? Sorry.
Okay. Now, very important, very important. You see, the first thing that we must know is whether the journal that you are targeting will accept this kind of method. Because sometimes you cannot do something which is too radical, too innovative. Sometimes will not be something that they can accept. So journals are very conservative. Okay, so you may have something very creative, something that wow, I want to use this method, but they are not able to accept because to them this is something so new. So my advice is very simple. Okay, know your field. Let's say, for example, this is your field. Look at some of the top journals. Do they have something similar like what you are doing? If they have something very similar, then I would say that it is a safe path to go. But if you cannot find, okay, totally cannot find even one journal, but this is what you think, please don't do it, because the journal likely will also reject you because you are doing something which is not a normal thing that they see. Reviewer especially, they will not be able to accept, and they will even write to you, I think you need to follow the proper format. You will have problem. So try to make sure that the first, at least there is some top journals using this method, then it's safe to go. Otherwise, don't. Is that okay?
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Here's another question from Olaleya. Is it necessary to include theory in all social science papers for publication?
The answer is yes. Okay, you cannot have a paper without a theory. That's reject. Definitely will be rejected. So you must have, and in fact, theory is the heart of your paper. Without a heart, there is no way you will survive. All right, but this doesn't apply to science. Science doesn't need to have a theory. Okay. Any other questions?
Next question from Hon Xiao Tong. Is there any top journal list related to other research fields such
Sorry?
as science and technology?
Again, come again. What's the question? Do what?
Is there any top journal list related to other research fields such as science and technology?
It very much depends when you use the word science. Are you referring to those what like biology, chemistry, physics, and technology, or you're just referring to the word science and technology? Because if you're just talking about generic science and technology, there is a lot of this kind of journals. Plenty. Yeah. You can, in fact, like for example, you can just go into like maybe simple things like Web of Science Journal Finder. You just type the word science and technology. There'll be a list of journals that will appear with those kind of keywords. So it's not difficult to find. Or go and look at the ABS, the ABDC ranking. There will be categories. Yeah, there will be categories where you can actually find. Like for example, in the ABS, ABDC, there will be things like technology and operation management. So there will be even lists like technovation. These are operation management, but with technology integrated. So you will see all this style category, but you have to go through those top ranking lists. They usually have this kind of areas. Okay, next.
Next from Norazian binti Muhammad Amdan. Do you have any tips to synthesize and summarize the content of a paper?
Again, can you repeat? I cannot hear.
Do you have any tips to synthesize and summarize the content of a paper?
You got to read all. No, I mean, I have to be very frank with all of you. You see, when I started my career 14 years ago, I don't have all this kind of what AI software, the software to summarize this and that. We read it and understand what these authors are doing. So when you ask, when someone actually asks me about certain work, I can actually explain because I really have to read the paper. But today, because of this problem of AI softwares or whatever summarizing software that is available, people just use that software to summarize and they just copy and paste their work without even knowing what the paper is. So when someone actually asks, they're not able to really connect, or say why they use this paper in the first place. So I really have to tell you, if you are really serious in writing a quality paper, there is no shortcut. You cannot use any software. Software probably is just good for you to, to help you, but you have to read the paper manually. That's number one. Number two, you must know what are the kind of words that people use to make it sound critical. For example, when you read top journals, sometimes when you look at their literature review, it sounds very critical. It sounds very like there's lots of debates. But the more you read, you realize actually they are writing rubbish. I'm not kidding. It's not to use the word rubbish, but they are writing there is no key points. It's just the choice of the word. Example, as debated by, as A criticized B, C challenged D. There was a debate of arguments. This kind of word, if you put it in, it sounds like there is a whole debate of argument on that particular topic. But actually, if the person just use that word, it makes that whole argument sounds like there is an argument. So try to look at those nice words, try to borrow it and put it in. That will actually help a lot. Okay?
Okay, next from Widad. How many pages in average a good paper would be?
Oh, very much depends on the journal. Like for example, if that journal itself, the word counts is 7,000, I mean, how many words can you write? So if that journal itself, requirement is about 10,000, then you write more. So to me, I never really look at pages. I look at the word counts, the limit. So, but be very careful, because journals today, like even in Amaro, they will have this clause. Like for example, if you have one table, okay, one figure, one table, and one table is equivalent to 250 words. So if I have four tables or four figures, let's say I have five figures, five tables, it will be 10 times 250 words. So I have additional 2,500 words. So a lot of times when I submit paper will be unsubmitted, and they say that please comply to the word count. Then I say, hey, my word count is less than 6,000. Why rejected? Then they paste the thing. One table, one figure, is 250 words. There I know. So point here is look at the author guidelines and follow the author guidelines. Okay.
Okay. Next, would you from Huang Yumei, would you please share any relevant materials or methods on how to connect theory and research? Right now, my research has come to a standstill. I can't really explain the connection between theory and research very well myself.
I mean, I do not really have a book, journals will not explain, until to the extent how, what it is, because they are more practical oriented. I only can give you these tips. The first thing, how to connect the theory and your research is, number one, as I said, you must know the objective of the theory. What is the end goal of this theory? Okay. Number two, you must know the end goal of your research. Like as I said, if my end goal is to understand why elderly consumer are resisting to use mobile payment, yeah. So I know my end goal is I want to know why they resist. Then I need to find the end goal of a theory that talks about resistance. Then it is a good match. Okay, that's the first thing. Second, how to apply that theory with your research. You need to show that connection. Like I give you another example. We talk about social exchange theory. Now, let's say when we talk about social exchange theory, first, you know the objective. Objective of social exchange theory is why people actually engage in certain behavior in society. All right. So the reason why they engage on a certain reason, why they engage that behavior is because there are benefits, to them, for them. So now you know that there's this thing called benefits. Now, in your research, ask yourself which part of your research talks about benefits. Then link it. So in other words, to apply that theory into your research, you must first understand the objective. Then number two, you must really understand that definition, how they define that particular theory. And from that definition, okay, that sentence, look which of your model or your thing has that kind of similarity. Then people can see that connection. That's the only way to write. Okay, I hope that helps. All right, next.
Next from Hassan.
From Gary?
Yes,
From
yes.
Gary? Yeah, okay. Actually, I want to ask a question. Thanks for your informative presentation. And sometimes if we submit the paper to the certain journal, so we'll get this comments from different reviewers. But sometimes for certain reviewers, they just like give the comments like, for example, this work doesn't have any novelty, just like that. But other reviewers give such detailed comments and very constructive suggestion. So how to rebuttal with this this kind of comments, like no novelty, just like that. So yeah.
Okay. Let me be very fair lah, sometimes when the reviewer tells you that there is no novelty, ask yourself this question now. Like as I say, is your work really no novelty? Or does your work really has novelty? It's very important. Why I say it's very important? You see, a few years back, okay, there was someone, I think also from UPM, came to look for me, okay, asked me to help on her paper. So she put in this way, Gary, I've submitted a paper. The paper was rejected, countless rejection. Okay, already sent to a proofreader. Proofreader said already no problem, everything is good. Supervisor also said it's really good. Now the question here is this: I submitted to all these journals, it got rejected. Now I'm going to I have also submitted to journals which have to pay money. All right, I'm willing to pay because I need to graduate. I'm willing to pay money. Even all these journals that have to pay money also reject me. Now, I already decide to even go to another level, which is, more problematic journal, so long that I can graduate. But those kind of problematic journal also reject me. I'm lost. Can you please tell me what is wrong with my paper? Nobody can tell me what is wrong. Send to me. All right? In less than 1 minute, it's not that I look at the reference. I just look at the paper. I just saw the theory. I told the person, no matter how you write, you will never scrap through this paper because there is just no novelty. Whatever that you are doing, the theory is just something that the whole world, I can find you 10,000 papers that is something similar to your work. So, sometimes we want to argue with the reviewer that you are wrong, but you need to ask yourself this question, because reviewers sometimes have seen papers in your area because they are probably doing something which is very similar like what you do, and they know that this work is just so common. But to you, you probably, you may not even realize that there is such kind of research in other journals, and to you that you probably feel that you are the only one person in the world that has done and thought of this. So sometimes I have to be very frank with all of you. There is also a real reason why your paper is rejected. Really, there is no novelty. No matter how you argue, the novelty is that it's just too common. So what I just Feng Yang, I want to be very honest with you. You need to really look at your work again to really see whether this is something very, very common which other people have done. Now, if let's say, for example, if this work is something that very, very common and a lot of people have done, then you need to reposition your paper. Okay, you need to make it sounds more like there is a contribution by adding maybe different methodology, okay, by adding different kind of research objective to make it more spicier and so on. Or otherwise, try to submit a paper to a different field. Let's say, for example, some people, let's say you do TAM. TAM is a very outdated work in IS journal. But if you submit TAM into another area, example, in education journals, probably that the theory in that particular field is still very new and you can survive. So sometimes you need to also think about diversifying the journals into a different your work into a different area, to ensure that your paper survive. Okay, Feng Yang.
Okay, thanks, Prof.
Okay, welcome.
All right. I think Ida, we are about 15 minutes past, so maybe we have the last question.
Last question.
Yeah.
The last question from chat box.
Is there any more or
from Ramiza binti Darmi?
Yeah.
Do you have an example of papers using multi-data, multi-methods?
Very easy. Those papers, they will not call themselves multi-data, multi-method. You just go and type those like study 1, study 2, you will definitely find those papers. Okay.
Okay, everyone. Sorry, we are running out of time. So we will move to before we wrap up for today's session, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Professor Gary for sharing his expertise and valuable insights. Thank you for the audience for the time, energy, and participation throughout the session. I hope everyone found this session to be just as insightful and valuable. Before we end this session, we kindly ask everyone to turn on your cameras. If possible, give us your best smile. Okay, let's give a countdown. 3, 2, 1. Okay, another one. 1, 2, 3. We also need your cooperation to fill out the attendance form provided in the chat box. Thank you again, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
all right? Thank you, Prof. Gary. Thank you, Ida, for being moderator.
Okay, thank you, Alvin.
Thank you. Good luck to everyone. Take care.
Yes.
Take care.
Since
Bye-bye.
Prof. Gary is so popular in UPM, maybe next time we can go do a physical one.
Invite him again.
Yeah, we do a physical
no
one.
Happy to come.
Yeah, we do a
Sure.
physical one, then we will do again since it's so popular and in demand. So many questions. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Ida.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Okay,
Alvin.
thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Prof.
Bye.
Gary.
See you,
Bye.
everyone.
See you tomorrow.
Good luck.
Yeah.
See you.